G'day everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video I've met up with Leigh from Peak Oil Company and we're going to spend 2 days and 2 nights paddling down the beautiful Ovens River in some canoes, hopefully do a spot of fishing, try and find some good secluded camp spots. We have some heavy rain forecasted as well on this trip and we want to have a bit of a conversation as well about traditional materials and traditional gear. Stick around, it's going to be a good one.
We were headed towards the lower end of the Ovens, a 191 kilometre long river that flows from up in the Australian Alps and down into the Murray River. We found a quiet bridge at our starting point to unload Leigh's canoes that he was generous enough to lend for this 2-day and 2-night cruisy adventure in a part of the state I'd never seen. After a car shuffle at our planned final camp, we headed back to our start-off point in anticipation for what the river would offer us. River gums, wildlife, sandy banks, typical of this lower part of the river. Loading up the canoes with both a mix of traditional and new gear, I was pretty keen to get on the water for what would be my first canoe trip in many years. It was at this point I started to film all of our journey on the water on my GoPro. Little did I know what awaited me later on this trip, realising I wouldn't be able to use any of this footage at all. So this video is going to be very exciting. I have so much cool footage to show you, except for one thing. I dropped my GoPro in the river and I lost all the footage.
Devastating. So what you're about to watch is me trying to creatively make something without a lot of the footage piecing together this trip. We'll see how we go.
But with one main camera and Leigh offering his phone and GoPro 360 camera footage, I was still able to document this trip and share some of the thoughts that came as a result from catching up with Leigh while adventuring outdoors.
This is River Red Gum country. This is a part of the River Red Gum Parks areas, you know, the Murray, the Goulburn and the Ovens, and you just get these old growth gums with big hollows in them that birds are living in, and it's just beautiful.
We plan to talk about our passion for what I call traditional camping, or what Leigh calls using heritage materials. That is, what are the benefits of shifting back to camping and clothing gear that the old timers carried, or using natural materials common to our ancestors in a way that reflects our modern ways of getting out bush? And what better place to do that than moving through a natural landscape on a river via a craft that allows conversation and reflection? And we have plenty of that on this trip.
Doing about 15 kilometres on the first day and then about 15 kilometres on the second day, and find some beautiful camp spots as well, and it's just really good to do this and catch up with Leigh, and yeah, it's very relaxing, very almost a meditative type feeling, just floating down the river for a couple of days.
Yeah, or a lizard, but I think it's a snake. I'll look at the head.
Yeah. Oh, there he goes.
Put these two side by side.
Unfold it again,
Yeah.
That's a bit. Oh, what is this? There's a full setup going on. Just thought I'd show you as well, I'm using the water bag for this, 5 litres of water in here rather than drinking straight from the river. Got fresh water from home in the water bag. Now for a spot of fishing. I've got a bunch of worms from the farm that I brought with me. So I'm going to chuck that on the end of a hook and see how we go. I just thought I'd show you while I'm filming as well. For tonight I've got 2 sheepskins to lay on as mattresses and then 2 woolen blankets, so I can thank the old sheep for my bedding tonight. And then this is just a canvas swag, so the idea of the swag is that if it rains I can just chuck the canvas over like that and I'll be fine. But I'll probably sleep in the open like that tonight.
Yeah. But we don't need this part, but that's...
Oh, okay.
That run rolls in
Yeah,
there.
right, so we can just sit around that little thing.
Yeah, I mean, we can empty it out into a big fire once the cooking's done, because that will direct...
I'm going to get some firewood, I reckon, eh? What's going on there? Already? Don't tell me already. Yoo-hoo! Is that filming? We're filming. What do we got? Feels good. What do we got? It's a Murray cod, so unfortunately I'm going to have to throw her back. I would love to have eaten a Murray cod. This is my first ever Murray cod. So I just want to show that. Check it out, guys. That's my first Murray cod. Beautiful fish. Unfortunately, cod season is closed, so I can't take this one. So I'm going to get him back in the water. Beautiful. Awesome. I'm stoked with that though. That's my first Murray cod.
I don't think you've worked more than 20k in your life.
Yeah. Well, especially for the snow.
Yeah, totally. Getting it and sand too.
Bushcraft. Okay, so you've got enough rice because I've got noodles if you need.
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah. So Leigh's currently preparing a healthy meal for me. So I won't be eating just baked beans and a piece of meat tonight. It'll actually be half decent food. Oh yeah, having a bite, that's for sure.
Or livestock have a happier life or a peaceful life compared to the wild animals.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully you do. A lot of people seem not to. But we're all on a different path and different times, I guess.
Alright, Leigh's masterpiece here.
Well, the rice is a little scorched, I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't good idea.
But for you there's no...
No, because
I'm here with Leigh. Some of you may know Leigh from Peak Oil Company. You've seen me using the sheepskins from Peak Oil Company, but he does a lot more than that. Does a lot of, yeah, well, I'm going to let him explain. So, Leigh, tell us a bit about yourself and what is Peak Oil Company?
Okay, mate, thanks. I think my origin story, so they call it, is that I was walking in the Western Arthur Ranges down in Tasmania, just with the standard kit, lightweight nylon stuff, and I got caught in a storm, crawled into my tent and just went to cook inside my tent. Actually, I was with someone else. I was that person was cooking inside the tent with me, and they hadn't used the Trangia before, and I was just exhausted. I just crawled over and went to sleep and left them to it. And there was a fuel spill. That fuel went around a bit and caused a fire in the tent, and they got out, and I was kind of cornered into this tent with a plastic fire, and it sounds worse than it probably was. It was pretty serious, but I got it out pretty quickly with a cotton tea towel, which was the only natural fibre I had on me. And I got it out, but there was a massive, all one side of the tent had basically burned, and a bit of the sleeping bags and the ground sheets and thermarest had holes in them, and everything was, debacle. And I had some pretty serious burns on my hands, but that's my origin story as to, I came down from that, sort of concluded then that I was never, at the outset, I was never really happy with the sort of equipment we were carrying. They were plastic and fluorocarbon treatments and stuff like that, and I just didn't feel like I was connecting with the environment that I was there trying to appreciate. And I always looked back and admired the old timers and how they did things, a lot like you do. So I came back and thought, okay, enough of this plastic stuff. I'm going to start researching and finding out about older methods. All right, then a couple of years later, I saw a slide presentation by a group of old timers who walked across Iceland unsupported for 10 days. And they were giving a slide presentation, and they did it in 1952. They were doing it with old canvas tarps, tents, even a cast iron pot, cans and stuff. Women and men walking across Iceland off trail. And that was then the catalyst. I thought, righto, I can do this. I'm going to start making or buying my own gear from the old school and start practicing that way. Ever since I've been making, and I started selling what I made, and now I'm full-time with it.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about what are the kind of things you make, and what materials do you like to use?
So in my mind, I've got a full range of camping gear, from hiking through to standing camps, long-term standing camps. So far I've made almost completely a full range of clothing, sort of our portable shelter if you like. I've started prototyping packs, and I've modelled and started sourcing materials for lightweight portable tents through to heavyweight standing tents. The materials are all natural materials, or as close to as I can get. That's like cotton canvas, hemp canvas, blended cotton canvas, possum, silk merino knit sweaters, and melt and woven wool pants and tops, and wax canvas shell covers and sheepskins. And what's fascinating to me is the challenge of multifunctional design to justify the extra weight.
Okay,
So if I can get something that does one thing that does 3 or 4 things, then arguably I can say those 3 things combined are what this is worth, the weight of this is worth.
And going back to what a lot of the old timers the materials they would have been using out in the bush.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of crossing over benefits. One is that these materials are, the materials and or the treatments in the material. So if you take cotton canvas by itself, that's fairly accessible material. You can walk into a thrifty store and you can buy cotton woven pants and shirts and work shirts and things like that, and other things. The treatments are simply beeswax, linseed oil and gum turpentine. You can go other mixtures, but that's the basic premise of the material treatment. So with that treatment, you can put it into those readily available materials and make your own outdoor gear. It doesn't have to be high-tech stuff, and if you learn the methods of how to manage those materials, how to maintain and manage those materials, you can be doing outdoor stuff that a lot of people say you can't use those materials in.
I don't use anything but like cotton treated with an oil skin out in the snow anymore, because I just find it works great, and I'll be bone dry wearing that. And personally I prefer it over the Gore-Tex stuff. And
same.
So I can attest to that.
I think
in the weather-wise, like it performs fantastic. Wax canvas and I know your stuff. You've got is your slogan "Old meets the new"? Is that?
Yeah, where the old meets the new.
So you're using old traditional materials that old fellas would have used, but you do put a a modern spin on it in regards to the style of the clothing you make and that as well. So
yeah, so the functionality. So the classic oilskin jacket in Australia was a riding coat,
yeah,
designed for horse riding.
sure.
The jacket I make is more designed for walking, packing, carrying a backpack, walking or skiing long distances, and designed to ventilate and stuff. That's the anorak anyway.
And I've been using the sheepskin bedrolls, which I really like.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. So I will leave a link in the description for peak oil. I highly recommend it. And I think, just to sum up this whole thing, you know, just encouraging more and more people to try using traditional materials. I've been on a journey from, you know, 2 years ago, I was using all your Anaconda gear, I'll say.
Yeah. Well, it's very accessible in
yeah,
terms of
it is,
purchasing
and
it off the
cheap
shelf.
and stuff like that. But I'm really enjoying the journey of discovering more and more traditional gear, and I'd encourage other people to start. I think it's it doesn't have to be you know, you jump in 100% and you go full traditional. Just mix it up here and there. Bring a wax canvas jacket or anorak next time you go on a trip, and see how you go. Yep. No, very good.
Trying to get my hit, my sugar and coffee hit.
Oh, I've actually enjoyed the simplicity of your meals in the videos. But yeah. No.
Yeah.
So 2 sausages each?
Yep.
Very nice one, mate.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, it's not the most high quality meal, but
I like it.
As the morning wore on, we packed up and launched the canoes for our second day of 15 kilometres down the river, starting off with plenty of obstacles to tackle, which made for some fun navigating as I got more comfortable handling the canoe, with a bit of help from the more experienced Leigh, of course.
So it's interesting to think about how old fellas would have navigated rivers like this. You know, obviously the canoe is very much a Canadian, originates from Canada. Our Indigenous had dugout canoes, obviously, but you know, the settlers would have had old dinghies, but yeah, they would have made little rafts and things like that, and little canoes out of bark. So doing it a little bit different being in a fiberglass canoe, but it is really cool to be able to float down a river. And you know, obviously floating down a river was a great means of navigating the landscape, and just cuts an easy path through the land for people to be able to float down.
Towards the end of the second day though, I was having to battle the inner despair of losing all the footage I'd captured while out on the water.
Because I've been filming 2 days on this beautiful river with my GoPro, getting a bunch of awesome footage, and I just dropped my GoPro into the water.
Devastating. What are we down to? We're down to your main camera,
Yep,
my 360 and my phone footage.
yep. Which is, yeah.
That's some.
But material objects are just that, material things. And it was hard to stay negative in such a beautiful environment with good company and also plenty of wildlife. And I was looking forward to reaching camp with big storms predicted for the afternoon.
Some areas of this river really feels like almost Canoe Arnhem Land type thing. You get these big river red gums. Have a look at this big stump next to me here that I'm about to pass.
About 15k, about the right distance, isn't it, per day?
That was good.
Toggles, the draw things, I made these out of the same material as the posts.
Yeah, Leigh, I want you to show us these paddles that you made.
Okay, well, these are Tassie blackwood, and they've got a bit of heritage in Australia because the Indigenous fellas used blackwood for shaping shields and woomeras. And they're amazing timber, beautiful timber. They're used in guitars these days a lot.
Yep.
It's fairly expensive timber. But these ones here are shaped out of one board. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And these are Murray pine.
Nice, yeah.
Or native cypress saplings.
Beautiful.
Rolling.
That's rolling. We're going to do a cheers. Completed the journey.
Nice one, wasn't it? Very leisurely.
It was.
I'm sorry about your camera, man.
Is what it is.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, it is. There was a lot of good footage on that, but if you're watching this is probably towards the end of the video, and hopefully I've made something out of it.
As the sky started to darken and rain was inevitable, we were winding down this trip and concluding our thoughts on many topics. I had my thinking challenged on many areas, and I enjoyed looking at my approach to the outdoors from a different perspective.
This is fallow deer.
Probably have to season it as well.
very gamey tasting, isn't it?
A reoccurring theme in our conversations was our relationship to the outdoors and the materials we camp in and wrap ourselves up in. What are the environmental and health consequences of heading into nature wrapped up in plastics? What are the benefits of not just outsourcing the production of all our gear when heading outdoors, but looking into crafting some of our own stuff, much like the old fellas used to? Could we try to transition, as much as we feel comfortable with, to some of these more heritage materials? Cotton canvas, leather, wool, hemp, things like that. And is lightweight and compact really the highest value when it comes to gear in the outdoors, when we have the possibility of multifunctional gear to counter this? This is not a judgment on other folks and how they choose to experience the outdoors by any sense. As you can see, we had lots of modern bits of gear scattered among our own camp. But it is an encouragement to start looking out beyond the confines of what the big outdoor chain stores would sell you, to what you could possibly make yourself, and to look back in time and get a bit of inspiration from the old fellas. And that's food for thought.
This is what the older generation screw up on. Alright everyone, it's really coming down now, so we're going to pack up and head on out of here. But I want to thank Leigh for organising this trip, letting me borrow one of his canoes for this trip. I really appreciate it. It's been an eye-opening trip. I've really enjoyed it. Please check out Peak Oil Company and some of the products that Leigh is making. And have a think about how you can maybe transition to using more traditional materials if you're up for it. Awesome. Have a good one, guys.